Hello, everybody. Welcome to this little intro video for our Advent Moon Group. My name's Davi Weasley. I'm here with Taylor Moore, and we're just going to give a little introduction to what we're hoping for from this group and how the phases of the moon and the Advent scriptures might hang out together and make some meaning with each other. I'm one of the pastors at First Congregational Church of Bellingham. Probably if you're watching this video, you already know me because I texted it to you. But either way, good to have you with us. We're going to be doing our Advent Moon Group Sundays at 5 p.m. starting this coming Sunday, November the 28th, and going up until the Sunday before Christmas. Taylor, do you want to say a little bit about who you are and what brings you to moon conversation or moon, I don't know, presence?
Yeah, absolutely. My name's Taylor Moore, and I've been a member friend of the Bellingham UCC since we moved here in about 2014. Most recently, and my connection with the moon has been my whole life. I've always been drawn to the moon, but within the past few years, my spiritual practice, I needed an anchor. I needed a physical something. With all of the unknown, I was really being drawn to kind of find the things that are known, and the natural world kind of called out to me very strongly as a place that I could see and touch and be physically in. And one of those things was the moon and the constant changing of the moon, that it's both constant and constantly changing, has led to a really deep and grounded place for me, that a place that I can always check in with and know and count on. And the cycle of it, right? The spiral of it, that it goes through the seasons and that it holds a lot of space for me. So it's been a really big teacher for me in my spiritual practice.
That's lovely. Thank you. And I guess I should say, so we are intentionally doing this moon group during the season of Advent. Advent is in some ways a season of preparation for Christmas and the Christmas season. It's a season that has a lot of waiting in it, a lot of hope, a lot of that kind of wonder and wondering that can come in this the time of year when the nights are really long. There can be a lot of space and for that contemplation, at least up here in the Northern Hemisphere this time of year. And Advent is also like this powerful combination of stories about the narrative leading up to the birth of Jesus in the Gospels, and stories in scriptures that are about the end of the world or some kind of radical transformation in how we live and know and have our communities. So there's a lot going on there, and I think that pairing some of those wild and really mundane and really beautiful scriptures with, as Taylor said, this anchoring and consistent presence that is also a changing presence. What a powerful way of understanding the divine of part of our natural world, of one of our beloved siblings, fellow child of God, whatever that is. So we're hoping to create some space for that. And I've sometimes, even in my own head, thought of this as like, oh, I'm gonna like come and learn a lot about the moon and the Advent text. And our hope is that it would be less of a just kind of learning experience, or less just of a kind of like, banking model of education. Let's like take a bunch of notes on what Taylor says about the moon. And instead to create some space for reflection, for contemplation, for silence and stillness. And that's, we were talking before, it's tricky to do over Zoom sometimes, but we'll see what's possible. And I think this time of year, and my hope is this conversation and these topics will create some space.
Yeah. And
go ahead.
what came up, so while you were talking about that, I think that when I was getting really excited to the moon, and I still do look for information, there's a lot of scientific stuff, which is really rich in its own right. But from my teachers and the people that I interact with, they're like, you experience it. Like, if you want to know about the new moon, go sit outside under a new moon, right? Like, and so it's inviting in that experience, inviting in the relationship. that it's not this predetermined thing that we have and are going to share, and but that it's whoever shows up and however you show up. We're going to trust that that relationship is going to be fostered, and that's exciting for me. Is like that not knowing too. Is that the possibility is there, but who knows what's going to come up.
Ooh, I get a little shivers from that kind of talk. That's lovely. Well, I'm excited. So let's say I'm watching this video and I'm kind of on the fence, or I'm not sure this is right for me. I guess both, like, what's your invitation for like who might find this kind of group rewarding, and also, like, what, if anything, should I do to prepare for showing up on Sundays at 5?
I mean, I think this group is for anybody who's interested and is feeling called to that, right? And maybe especially even if you're looking for a new perspective, right? Like shining light or shining darkness on different parts of yourself, on how you're showing up for Advent, especially if you're like, I don't even know what Advent means to me, right? Like, here's a place that we discover that, and it might just be for this year, but it also might be in that fostering of a relationship with something that is constant and constantly changing. And I would say to prepare, I think the most important thing for me would be to hold the time that we are gathering as sacred, right? Not as just this thing I have to do, or like, I mean, and everybody shows up in the way that they want to. I'm not saying that there's a predetermined way, but just knowing that I'm going to hold this space for myself, right? And so bringing what is going to make you comfortable, maybe a journal, maybe a book, maybe art, maybe a warm drink, but things that are going to allow you to settle in, to be in, I think you said, this is for reflection and connection, right? So things that are going to support you for that hour to reflect and connect with yourself and others, and the idea of the stories of Advent and the moon.
Yeah, and I'll just name that when Taylor and I were first dreaming up this set of conversations, or this group, one of the things that invited us into that was wanting to create some opportunities for folks who are connected to the church or adjacent to the church to connect with each other, especially folks in that kind of young adult age bracket, which we used to talk about, folks who are like, graduated high school, or 17 or 18 up to like mid 30s. And we have a bunch of folks in that orbit, and many of them don't know each other and aren't well connected with each other, and they're all really cool. And so I have a hope that, like, some of our young adults will gather, but certainly whatever age group you are, if this group calls to you, it would be lovely to have some variety of generations and variety of life experiences, and all of those stories and experiences in the room, because whenever you were born, the moon was there alongside that, and kind of accompany you now, I think. Yeah. In terms of, I guess I'm still, this is maybe just like, I'm such a school kid, I grew up going to school, and I went to school for a lot of my adult years, and I'm like, Taylor, like, what else should I know before I start? And maybe I don't need to worry about that.
Maybe not. I think that if you are someone who is like, I want to prepare, then, I think just opening yourself up and saying, like, well, what is Advent to me? Like, what is my current relationship to Advent? Because for different people, that's going to bring up different things. And knowing where you're starting is never a bad idea. And also, what is my relationship to the moon? Is it something that I follow closely, or is it something that I don't regularly pay attention to? And all of it is fine. Where are we, right? Like, what are those things? And then, like, what I always ask people, like, what are you looking for? Because I think, like, we have this inherent way of knowing that, and we might not get what we're looking for, but it is also a helpful tool for starting something, right? Like, what am I going into this with? What are my hopes or desires? And so I think there's lots of lots of stuff that can be done and contemplated in preparation. And if you're like me, you might just show up and see what happens.
I think that's a lovely, I think there's also a lovely reading of the Advent story in which God shows up and sees what happens, and like it just gets wild. And,
Oh, yeah.
um, yeah, what else should we touch base on, Taylor? Or
Well, I think so. Timing, right? So the dates and the time.
yeah, so it's going to be. I'll say that again. So every Sunday, so 4 Sundays, December 28th, and then the 3 Sundays in December, leading up to Christmas. It'll be from 5 p.m. till just about 6 p.m. We're going to try to keep it to an hour because folks are busy and Zoom is hard after an hour and all of that. And we're hoping for some richness. And there might be other conversations that arise out of that we can continue in other places and in other ways. And it might just be that time. The Zoom link, I will, if you got this by text, hopefully I sent along the Zoom link for the actual meetings with it. If you're watching this on YouTube or something, I think the Zoom link will be below, or it'll be in the First Congregational Friday email. But you can reach out to me at davi@fccb.net and I'll send it to you, even if it's 2 minutes before. But if it's 1 minute before, I won't be paying attention to my email. Yeah.
And I think that, so for folks who
join us, I'm sorry. Can folks join us partway through? Like if I miss the first one, can I come to the second one? Or?
Yes.
Okay. That's my hope. I don't know.
I trust that the people who show up will be the people that need to be there. And I will also note, especially for the first one, that the phases of the moon, as we travel through, we will be experiencing the day before. So, and I mean, I haven't looked at it intensely for like specific times, but so we will have a new moon before our first meeting on the 28th. Is that? Yeah. And then it kind of follows along with us through the month, where each quarter and the full are kind of, 7 days apart and going to follow us through Advent. So
very convenient that the moon was so kind to be on such a helpful rhythm. Well, thank you for taking time to watch this little intro video. If this sounds like a gift to you, please come and receive it with us. If it sounds like a gift to somebody you know, whether they're connected with First Congregational in Bellingham or not, please feel free to share it. We will roll with whoever arrives, and that'll be a joy.
Yeah.
I like to end videos like this with a little word of blessing. Taylor, is there something that you would hope for? Hope, like a word or a phrase that you want to hope for the folks who are watching this as they're thinking through this?
I think what's coming to me now is just this hope for the things that need to be illuminated, being illuminated, and the seeds that need to be planted in darkness get planted in darkness.
Amen. I think my hope is that wherever you're at in this season, you'll find a sense of companionship. And maybe that's an invitation to be with particular people, or to be with the moon, or to be with particular texts. Or maybe that's just an invitation to remember that, at least I believe that wherever we are, especially in challenging times or sparse times, the divine is very present with us. In the moon and in all other kinds of ways. Yeah. Well, Taylor, thanks so much for taking time to chat, and hopefully we'll see some of you Sundays in Advent starting November 28th, 5 to 6 p.m. at Zoom link below. I don't know where it'll be. Thank you.
Perfect.